wanna stay ahead of the curve, then follow my words. All we do is teach, train, innovate, solve, yeah. Teach, train, innovate, solve. If you wanna be ahead of the curve, then follow my words.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. To TTIS, where we build confident, empowered educators, giving you practical tools that you can use today. And tonight, we have a treat. I think that it is going to be a great opportunity for you to be able to understand and really get a hold on this concept that you have to know every single subject, every single thing in order to be successful at passing the SPED 186 exam. I just know that it's not true. And so tonight's topic, struggling with SPED 186 reading questions, it's not about knowing everything. Is going to help you hopefully get over that particular idea. And so, as always, I'm grateful for you being present. My name is Tamara Gibson. I'm the owner and CEO of TT Innovative Solutions. And I want to start with a question. Have you ever sat down to study for your exam and thought exactly what I said? You need to review all the potential reading strategies. You need to go back over phonics, or you should brush up on your comprehension skills. And then you feel overwhelmed before you even begin. But tonight, I hope to alleviate some of that overload. What this exam is actually asking you to do is something very different. It's asking you to make decisions about the student. And we're focusing on how to answer reading questions without feeling like you need to know and master everything reading first. I'm going to share a framework that works across reading, math, and writing, or any subject. But we're spotlighting reading tonight so that you can see it clearer. So our agenda, we have 4 basic things that we want to walk you through. And each one is going to cover this thinking framework that I'm going to share with you. I'm going to guide you through some practice and apply the framework to one of the questions that we're going to pose. And I'm also going to intrigue you just a little bit toward the end to talk about some multiple pathways. But really you homing in on the one and only one that's going to match that answer. And without any further ado, let's dive into this framework, because that's really what this whole thing is about. 3 action steps. Steps to think through this exam as you go through it. The first being the data. Not memorization, not definitions. You may ask, well, will I need to memorize some things and know some key definitions? Of course. But most of my viewers are already serving as alternative certification educators. So many of you, you know the strategies. You've already been exposed to them. But the main focus is your decision making. And in step 1, what do we actually know about the student? Not assumptions, not feelings, but the evidence. What is the question giving us? As you read a question, I want you to train your brain to pause right there before you even look at the answer choices. Don't rush this part, because this is where your answers actually lie. They lie there. They're evident. You'll be able to see them as you continue to practice this method. The next step is really noticing the need. What is the real need? Sometimes we generalize it. We might say things like the student struggles with reading. That's way too broad. But instead, we want specifically to break it down. Is it main idea? Is it inferencing? Or is it organization skills? So instead of that broad thought, let's think more along the lines of the student demonstrates difficulty making inferences from grade level text. Now that's specific. That's also how the exam is aligned. And once you have narrowed it down, then we can get to that third step, the action part. Then and only then should you have the action because you've already identified the problem. And then what is the best instructional move? Not just any good strategy, because there's lots of them. I mean, let's be honest. The strategies that directly address the need, though, they're going to look like explicit instruction in making inferencing, modeling think aloud strategies, guided practice with targeted feedback. And of course, I want you to really home in and understand how that plays in the area of reading. So with reading, it might highlight comprehension issues, main idea, inferencing, and the structure of a text, or the structure of utilizing the skill that is being offered there. When you're looking at best matches, this is when you ask yourself, what's the most appropriate step? But right now, with the data that you're given, I want you to be careful to pick answers that are the right answers, not ones that sound good. Rather, focus on the action that directly matches the need. Because if it doesn't fulfill the criterion, then it is a distractor. Our walkthrough tonight is surface level. And as we get deeper at looking at the framework step by step, if you're looking for more in-depth practice and you're ready to apply this thinking to all 5 domains, I want you to invite you to take the next steps. Our next SPED 186 cohort begins tomorrow night, April 21st. And if you're points away from passing or you're in need of strategy, direction, we'd love to have you. Our most important asset here at TTIS is that we give immediate feedback. So join our cohort to get that feedback. Or maybe you just need a little clarity on the direction you need to go. I had a viewer that shared with me their data, and I'm grateful for it. But that is our Texas Blueprint session. We're going to analyze your data and help you build a plan that's sustainable for you. This allows you to practice until it's time for you to take your exam. Either one will give you clarity that you are on the road to success. And success is where a successful framework is what we're building right now. So let's jump into an actual scenario. And typically I save this kind of walk through my SPED 186 community. It's our private group. And I'm going to leave the link for you to join in the show notes. But tonight I thought it especially important to do so because I'm trying to break this thought that you have to know everything about reading to be successful and pass this exam or math, whatever the subject. It's just not true. And it's not even feasible when you think about it. But in this scenario, we have a 4th grade student that is receiving special education services for a specific learning disability in reading comprehension. Demonstrates 95% accuracy when decoding grade level informational text aloud. However, when asked to summarize the text, the student includes irrelevant details. They omit the main idea, and they demonstrate difficulty identifying key supporting details. When progress monitoring data is collected over 4 weeks, it shows that there's minimal improvements in summarization accuracy. And despite independent reading practice, that improvement hasn't gone up. So now let's apply this framework that I just introduced to you to this question. The data. What do we know? That's where I want you to hone in on when you're making this decision. Here in this one, we know that there's strong decoding. 95% is very strong. Struggles with summarization, includes details that aren't accurate and cannot identify the main idea. And even with independent practice, there's no progress that's notable. And this is critical because the student can read the words. It's not decoding, but they cannot process the meaning. So now that I have rehearsed that part, I want to go on to the next, which is the need. Asking, what is the real need? Sometimes I think that we hover between the two that says that the student struggles with. Really, the student needs what? So no, not that the student struggles with reading comprehension. Again, that's too broad. I said that before. But instead, you want to offer a more precise and aligned statement here. And using that data, the statement is that the student needs explicit instruction in identifying and organizing main ideas in supportive detail and informational text. We know that inferencing is a hard skill anyway for students to grasp. But now I'm also putting on organizational skills and understanding main idea and where do these details really lie. And so I'm ready now to jump into action. Now that we've honed in on the pieces that may be causing them an issue. And here it is. What's my next step? We have clarity now. So this is where the action, the rigorous steps matter the most. The correct answer is going to be explicit and structured. It's going to directly target the skill, which in this case is main idea plus organizing the details. And then it's going to include what the teacher needs to do. You already mentioned independent practice, right? That was what the student was doing. Now we're talking about the teacher. They need to model and provide guided practice. And so I want to share with you what the walkthrough of this thinking with the actual STEM choices available. So a possible question that they might tag onto that example is, what strategy best supports the student? Okay, and I just put that general statement there because that's the general statements that many of the questions will ask. And then you have to go through and figure out what is the right answer. And there are going to be some high quality distractors that are going to challenge your thinking. And some right here in this example. One of the ones that I want to mention right now that could challenge this thinking is them saying repeated independent reading practice. While it sounds good, it builds fluency. We aren't building fluency here. That's not the issue. The student already knows how to decode well. It does not address summarizing a text. We've met students that they call words really well, but once we ask them questions, they sometimes have no idea what we're asking for or leading them with. And this is where the mismatch is to the need. With this, I want to present to you that there will be multiple pathways, but only one best match. Now, here's where the exam gets more subtle. You're not always going to be able to choose between one right answer and 3 wrong ones. Like we eliminate distractors and we use that skill, and I understand that. But sometimes you're going to be choosing between 4 reasonable strategies, and your thoughts will look a lot like the graphic that I'm presenting to you now. And that graphic can have you all over the place. But I want to reemphasize multiple pathways, but only one best match. And in the answer that I chose for you and shared with you, the answer choice A was the best match. And now I want to talk to you about why it's the best match. Okay? Because there's proof within this text or within this answer stem that shares why it's the best one. And we need to understand that. Because again, our job, which one is the best match for this student right now based on the current data in that question? That's it. It's not going to be pulling in all of the strategies that you know or don't know. It's going to be able for you to home in on what is the true student need. And when you decipher and walk through each one of those explanations, the answers will make sense. So in discussing our earlier case here, I want to talk you through those answer choices. We are identifying the main idea and supporting details in an informational text. That's what the child's concern is. And we have to help them to get there. So all of the strategies that you see on your screen could work in any classroom, but only one is the best step according to this particular answer, and that is choice A. Answer choice A is explicit instruction paired with a graphic organizer plus teacher modeling. The teacher models the main idea. They use a structured organizer and then they guide practice with feedback. The strength here is that they are directly teaching the missing skill with structure. While answer choice B, it's addressing guided questioning during reading. Things like a scaffolding question. What is this mostly about? Which details support the idea? Okay, it has some strength too. It builds thinking through support, but it's limited. It's less structured for a student that's already struggling with organization. And then we take a look at answer choice C. The student works with the peers to summarize text. Again, this encourages engagement and discussion. But is that what really we're trying to do in this particular example? No. So it's limited because it relies on the skills that the student does not have yet. They don't have it. They can't participate independently at this point because they have not had the skill built for them just yet. And then finally, answer choice D. Independent practice with sentence starters. Awesome. Okay, for another time, but not here. The main idea is, or one important details, those are great. They provide support in certain areas like writing or even processing of their thoughts. I can use that verbally. But the limitation here still assumes that the student can identify the main idea without explicit instruction. And we already said that in the question. So as I've walked you through these out loud, we have to go back to the data. The student cannot identify the main idea. They include irrelevant details, which means they're all over the place, and they have not improved with practice. So what do we need? We need structure, we need explicit teaching, and we need modeling. And that is why answer choice A is the next best step. Not simply because the others are all wrong, but because they are not the best match yet for this question. Because I'm not going to throw out all of those other great ideas. They might fit another one. But this, to me, is where we get hung up. Because you're not just learning reading strategies, you're really learning the approach and how to utilize them so that the learning is prioritized according to the instruction based on the need of the student for that question. If you look at all four of those answer choice stems, each one of them could work somewhere else, but not in this one. And so this framework that I'm talking to you, it shows up in everywhere. In math, it could be, do I model the process first, or do I let them try on their own? In writing, is I could give them a graphic organizer, or I could ask them to draft independently. Same question every time. What does the student need to improve and get closer to the stated goal that you're trying to get them to? This same framework works across all subjects. Here I presented it in reading, struggling with inferencing, teach inferencing strategies. Math, if I struggle with word problems, I want to teach problem structure. And in writing, if I struggle with organization, I want to teach planning and structure. Different content, same thinking. So if you've been overwhelmed, I want to state this very clearly. You don't need to know everything about every subject. And once you start approaching the questions in the way that I presented with this framework, you'll notice certain things. First of all, it'll help you to slow down. Second, to become more confident. And third, stop second guessing every answer, because that only causes fatigue and distress. But passing this test qualifies you as a specialist in the area of special education, not a specialist in all subject areas. Because you're going to learn more best practices, and you're going to learn how to implement reading and math and science and social studies. You're going to learn all of those things when you pass this exam and you become more excellent in your profession. But tonight, it was a surface area look at this framework. If you are already ready, you're at the doorway knocking and saying, I need this across all 5 domains, I want to invite you to our next SPED 186 cohort. It begins April the 21st, and it runs every second and fourth Tuesday of the month for 5 days. In this cohort, we will walk you through all 5 domains. We're going to practice real exam style scenarios in class and on your own, just as we did just now. And we're going to break down exactly how to approach each question. You get immediate feedback and no judgment here. If you're serious about passing, this is where that shift begins. It's where it happens. I'm going to leave the details in the show notes, like always. But again, I want to thank you. It is my pleasure to always come to assist and to share the vast knowledge and information that I've acquired over the years. Not because I'm so great in all of those different things. I'm grateful to effectively help my profession, what I love doing. And I'm glad that you landed here. So if this helped you, I want you to go ahead and like, subscribe, and share this with another educator who may need it. Because at the end of the day, it is not about how much you study. It is about how you think through this exam. And that is something that you can learn. Thinking strategies, this framework, walking yourself through these practice questions, you can learn that. And I look forward to you enrolling in our cohort and helping you to get certified. It's always a pleasure to see those who have subscribed betting on themselves. And I thank you for my 150 subscribers thus far. I'm looking forward to continue to reach my next mark, which is 250 subscribers, to expand my reach, to be able to help more people in Texas to get certified in the areas of special education, EC through 391, PPR 160, and SCR 293. You just happen to land on an exam where we're talking about SPED 186. Well, everybody, I'm grateful again. I hope to see you again for another Monday walk through some more information. I intend to get deeper into this conversation about you don't need to know everything, but you need to understand certain parts of the exam. All right. Hope to see you and meet you in the community on Thursday night. I'll be presenting, and tomorrow is the beginning of our cohort. Have a good evening, everyone.